but the big one that he was surprised that we were able to settle was the Middle East. He thought it was incredible. He was very generous in that sense. This should be something we're able to settle, and I think we will be able to settle. Yeah, Brian.
As the peacemaker, no doubt, and you will resolve this war.
Well, you know, we resolved 8 others. It's funny how people say that. If you get this one, every time I do one, they forget about that one. I solved 8 wars. Go to Rwanda and the Congo, talk about India and Pakistan, look at Thailand, look at all of the wars that we solved. And every time I solve one, they say, if you solve the next one, you're going to get the Nobel Prize. I didn't get a Nobel Prize. Somebody got it who's a very nice woman, very nice. I don't know who she is, but she was very generous. So I don't care about all that stuff. I just care about saving lives. But this will be number 9. But every time I solve one, they said, sir, if you solve one more, you're going to be known as a peacekeeper. So to the best of my knowledge, we've never had a president that solved one war. Not one war. Bush started a war. A lot of them start wars, but they don't solve the wars. They don't settle them. And especially when they have nothing to do with us. I saw almost, I guess, just about all of these wars had nothing to do with us. But I saved tens of millions of lives. The Prime Minister of Pakistan said, I saved millions of lives in interceding on Pakistan, and you look at Pakistan and India as an example. That would have been a bad one, 2 nuclear nations, right? So I say this, this is pretty much the last one, although I do understand that Pakistan attacked, or there is an attack going on with Afghanistan. That's an easy one for me to solve if I have to solve it. In the meantime, I have to run the USA, but I love solving wars. You know why? I like stopping people from being killed, and I've saved millions and millions of lives, and I think we're going to have success with this war. Wait, please.
This, President Zelensky, this is your 3rd time over here. Oh. And by the way, you look excellent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
For you, by the way. This is your 3rd time here. How different sitting across from the president is this time versus the 2 previous times here at the White House, and how confident are you hearing the success rate of solving these prior wars that he can get this war solved?
First of all, about suit. The same suit because the same president. It's very simple. The next president will have another suit. Yes, about our relations with President Trump, I think we have important dialogues, and I think we begin to understand each other. Yes, and I know that President is briefed very well about the situation in the battlefield, and he knows a lot what's going on the battlefield in Ukraine, and I think it really helps. When you know a lot of things, a lot of details about one or another war, it helps a lot. But we are still in war, and I hope we can manage it. I think it's important.
Some countries that are not meeting their commitment. You pointed out Spain. They said that it's impossible.
No, Spain has not come through. No, Spain has not been loyal to NATO. Spain has been, they're the only one. Everyone went up to, as you know, I mean, you were at 2% and they all went up to 5%, but Spain disagreed with that. I think Spain should be reprimanded for that. I think it's very bad that they did that, but that's up to them. That's up to NATO and Spain.
They cannot be expelled from NATO.
Can they or not?
They cannot, according to the treaty, but they also claim that they are protected by the European Union umbrella for trade.
Well, the other people, many of the other countries are in the European Union too. They're not complaining, right?
President, tell you that interest.
That's of interest.
Mr.
They're protected by Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you think you can carry the momentum from the Middle East deal over to this deal? And if
I do.
So, how does that move the needle?
Yeah, I do. I think we carry a lot of momentum, a lot of credibility. Getting Middle East done was very important. Nobody thought it could be done. That was one nobody thought could be done, and we got it done. And a lot of that was the big hit that we put on Iran with respect to the nuclear. They took, that was an unbelievable military maneuver. the B-2s, and many other planes involved, by the way, but the B-2s. Yeah, I think nobody expected that to happen. And, you know, we had 59 countries involved, and these were countries very diverse. You had Arab, Muslim, Jewish, you had every country, Christian, you had every country, and many countries involved. And we got that done. And we got it done pretty swiftly after we set the table properly. We had to set the table properly. This should be one that we get done. And I think the table is set properly here now, too. And it'll be a great honor. It'll be a great honor to get it done. And the Ukrainian people are great, and the Russian people are great. And obviously they have much in common, as we understand. They have a lot in common. So it'll be a great honor to get it done. Yeah.
On Venezuela, there are survivors from your latest boat strike. What happens to those survivors?
Well, I'll ask Marco to discuss that possibly.
Yeah, it's well known there's an ongoing narco-terrorist operation the United States has been conducting. As far as details of any recent strikes, we're not prepared here to announce all those details, but you'll get that information here very shortly.
And how are there survivors when these are meant to be lethal attacks?
Yeah, again, I mean, we're undertaking these operations against narco-terrorists. That's what these are. These are terrorists. Let's be clear. And but as far as the details of any recent operations, when we are prepared to announce those, we will, as the president has consistently done. So you may get something on that later today.
Let me ask you, that was in a submarine, right? We attacked a submarine, and that was a drug-carrying submarine built specifically for the transportation of massive amounts of drugs, just so you understand. This was not an innocent group of people. I don't know too many people that have submarines. And that was an attack on a drug-carrying, loaded-up submarine. Yeah.
On Putin, is it your belief, as Mr. Zelensky said yesterday, that the threat of tomahawks and costs, as Secretary Hicks put it, is that bringing him to the table, the fact that it's kind of a carrot and stick?
I don't know what's bringing him to I think he wants to make a deal, that's all. I can't tell you what's bringing him. Sure, that's the threat of that is good, but the threat of that is always there. Tomahawks are very dangerous weapons. They're incredible weapons. If you like warfare, it's one of the most accurate. You know, we hit 30 Tomahawks in Iran after the B-2s did their damage. We sort of gave it a little capper with 30 Tomahawks from a submarine, quite far away, actually. But they're an amazing weapon. They're a very powerful weapon, but they're a very dangerous weapon. And it could mean big, escalation. It could mean a lot of bad things can happen. Tomahawks are a big deal. But one thing I have to say, we want Tomahawks also. We don't want to be giving away things that we need to protect our country. We have a very strong country right now. We have a strong military. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. I want to get this war over. Okay?
Putin-Trump tunnel to connect Russia and Alaska. Are you interested?
I just heard about it. A tunnel from Russia to Alaska. I just heard about that one. That's an interesting one. We'll have to think about that. I hadn't heard that. We just did a nice road in Alaska that's going to get us to a lot of minerals, and we have a piece of it, a good piece of the ownership because of the fact we made it possible. But this came up yesterday, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. That's an interesting. What do you think of that, Mr. President? Do you have any ideas? How do you like that idea?
I'm not happy with this.
I don't think you're going to like it. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it.
President Trump, do you think that Vladimir Putin, do you think that Putin is your gut instinct?
Well, we had a senator that wanted, remember, from Hawaii, she wanted a tunnel from the mainland to Hawaii, and she said, well, we can't do that, so we're going to build a railroad to Hawaii. Do you remember? She's a current sitting senator, a Democrat. She wants a railroad to go to Hawaii, right? You know who that is, right? She's another beauty.
President Trump, on Putin, your gut instinct.
Yeah, please.
On your meeting with Putin, aren't you concerned that maybe the Russian president is trying to buy himself more time?
Yeah, I am. But, you know, I've been played all my life by the best of them. And I came out really well. So it's possible, yeah, a little time.
Is your gut instinct
it's all right. but I think that I'm pretty good at this stuff. I think that he wants to make a deal. I made 8 of them. I'm going to make a 9th. I think he wants to make a deal. Well, I think that he should have won the war in a week. Yeah, I do think. And if we didn't give the anti-tank missiles, as you know, the javelins they call them, they got stuck in the mud. They would have been in Kiev very quickly. They were heading to Kiev. So, you know, in war you have a lot of luck too. You know, weather has won war, and the cold and the heat and all things take place in war. But that was a very interesting moment when the tanks started rolling and some brilliant general said, let's go through the mud instead of going down the highway, right? So they got a little bit lucky. But you know where they really got lucky? I gave javelins. That wasn't given by Barack Hussein Obama. He gave them sheets. You know, there's a statement. Obama gave them sheets, and I gave them the javelins. And the javelins are a devastating weapon. And that wasn't given by Obama. That was given by, because at the time it was Obama. That was given by me. So it was like one of those things. And you had hundreds of them. They're a devastating weapon. We have a lot of devastating weapons. I'd rather not use them. But that was a big moment. You know, when the tanks got stuck, they got stuck. And call it luck or call it talent. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but it was a big moment in time.
Do you think Democrats will give you credit? Do you think Democrats will give you credit when you finally end this war, like they did with the war in the Middle East? And
I think right now the Democrats are really damaged, mentally damaged. They want to take $1.5 trillion with a T, $1 trillion, and give it to people that invaded our country. They came into our country illegally, from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members. They want to give them health care and take it away from our citizens. We're not going to do that. $1.5 trillion. They want to destroy our health care system. We're not going to let that happen.
Have you authorized CIA operations in Venezuela as part of?
Well, I wouldn't say that, but some interesting things are happening around the world, I'll say that.
It's been reported, Mr. President, it has been reported that Maduro offered everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What should we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. Let's go. Start moving. Thank you, guys. Let's go. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Brett.
And what an ending to a bilateral meeting there by President Trump hosting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. Joining us to discuss is Paul McCarthy, Senior Research Fellow for European Affairs at the Heritage Foundation's Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom. First of all, good afternoon to you, Paul. So this meeting comes, you know, just a day after a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which he said was very productive. Can you tell us what is different at this point in time? How close are we to a peace deal?
Well, it's great to be with you. It is hard to figure out whether we are closer or not. But one thing that we do know is that Donald Trump is going to work day and night to end this war, as he did and is doing right now in Gaza, in the Middle East. And he's going to continue working very hard towards that. What we have to understand is Donald Trump has been very consistent on two things. One, he supports an independent Ukraine, and he also wants to end this war. And he is doing that by providing weapons to Europe, and is expecting Europe to really step up to the plate as well with its own support for Ukraine, indeed their own defense support through NATO. This telephone conversation that the president had yesterday is an important step forward, and it is the way that President Trump really approaches peace negotiations. He wants to talk to both sides. So yesterday he had a conversation on the phone with Putin, and today he is meeting with the Ukrainian president. And I hope that we can come to an agreement on this terrible war where so many people have died.
So, Paul, we heard in that bilateral meeting between Trump and Zelensky, which is his third visit, actually, Trump said many times that Putin wants to see an end to this war. I'm wondering, what does Putin actually want, you know, in order for him to really pull back his troops?
Well, I wish I could get into the mind of Vladimir Putin, but we know a few things about how he operates. He wants to make sure that Ukraine is unusable for the NATO alliance, first of all, but also as a Western ally, generally speaking. And he has done that by taking as much territory as he can to achieve that goal. What we have to do, and what I think President Trump is trying to do, is make the price too high for Vladimir Putin to continue his war of aggression against Ukraine.
What is your view on whether the U.S. should send Tomahawk missiles? And that was one of the points, too, in that meeting.
I think that we focus too much on specific weaponry. There were previous debates about other types of weapons, should they be provided to Ukraine or not. What is important is that we give Ukraine the means to inflict as much damage on the Russian effort to defend their territory in the face of Russian aggression. And I believe that the United States will continue to do that.
And as well, Paul, perhaps you're aware of this already, but Russia's offensive momentum has slowed significantly by about 50%, and this is according to a new British Ministry of Defense intelligence report. What do you think about that? How do you read it? Is Russia at a point right now that it is more likely than before to accept a peace deal?
Russia is facing some severe economic problems that are gathering. There's a real economic storm gathering for Russia. And their debt is increasing. They are not able to put as much money into the war in Ukraine as they were doing before. And I think this is, I am not surprised at all, to answer your question specifically, that the Russian effort is slowing. As President Trump has mentioned time and time again, he has pointed out that Vladimir Putin's ability to capture territory has taken Russia a very, very long time, and pretty much a crawl over 3 years of fighting. So this should not be surprising. And I think that the United States, and I believe President Trump wants to do that, is to continue to give Ukraine the means to defend itself against Russia, to really grind their advance in Ukraine to a halt.
And Paul, as you're aware, President Trump has mentioned the cost of human lives in this war many times. Every time in a meeting with Zelensky and others, Trump is saying that thousands of soldiers are being lost every single week. How sustainable do you think this war is physically?
The sad fact of the matter is that Russia has more troops at its disposal to put into this war effort than Ukraine. And one of the problems that we have, so on the Russia side, you have these gathering economic problems, but on the Ukrainian side, you have the problem of men to fight on the battlefield. And it's a race against time, ultimately. And that's why Donald Trump is working very hard to bring this conflict to a conclusion as quickly as possible.
All right, I'll just end with this question. You said earlier perhaps there is too much of a focus on weaponry. So in your mind, what is the #1 tool then that the U.S. can realistically use to as leverage right now to pressure Putin to end the war?
To be specific, what I meant is specific types of weaponry. Weaponry, of course, is very, very important to provide to Ukraine, and that will continue. What is going to be critical in this effort, and it's something that Donald Trump has said time and time again, is that the Europeans step up to the plate and provide not only military means, which are very, very important, including weapons, but also support to Ukraine in other forms, including support to the government, governmental operations, to hospitals and health and so forth, to keep the Ukrainian people fighting to defend their territory in the future.
Okay, Paul, really great to speak with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you today.
John Bolton, President Trump's former national security advisor, pleaded not guilty today to 18 criminal charges. That's one day after he was indicted by a federal grand jury in Maryland. Stay tuned for that story after this break.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings. Regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium My Pillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queens $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
John Bolton, President Trump's former national security advisor, pleaded not guilty today to 18 criminal charges. That's one day after he was indicted by a federal grand jury in Maryland. He did not speak with reporters as he arrived at the courthouse in Greenbelt, Maryland this morning. The Justice Department sought the indictment over alleged unlawful handling of classified information. An investigation says that Bolton used a private AOL email to store and transmit classified notes during his White House tenure in the first Trump administration. In August, the FBI searched Bolton's home in Bethesda, Maryland, and his Washington office, where agents seized devices and documents marked secret or confidential, including materials on weapons of mass destruction. The indictment charges Bolton with 18 counts of transmitting and retaining national defense information. In a statement last night, Bolton called the charges an attempt by President Trump to intimidate his opponents. He said he looks forward to defending his, quote, lawful conduct. No global carbon tax for international shipping, at least for now. The International Maritime Organization, or IMO, just delayed a decision to impose the tax after countries failed to reach an agreement. The IMO is an international shipping agency under the United Nations. If passed, the global emissions tax would take effect in 2027, making it the world's first fee on ships that fail to meet emission targets. President Trump is strongly against the tax, calling it a, quote, green new scam tax, in a Truth Social post yesterday. He urged member states to reject the proposal after days of disagreements. Saudi Arabia called for a vote to adjourn the meeting for a year. More than half the countries agreed. President Trump says he hopes to expand the Abraham Accords. According to the president, now is a good time due to the end of the war in Gaza. Here's what he told Fox News.
Do you expect an expansion of the Abraham Accords?
I do, almost soon. I don't want to use the word immediate, but soon. I hope to see Saudi Arabia go in, and I hope to see others go in. I think when Saudi Arabia goes in, everybody goes in, highly respected.
He added that Saudi Arabia spoke with him as recently as this week. Trump said the country couldn't join the Abraham Accords while Israel was actively fighting Hamas in Iran. But now things changed. As of now, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan are part of the Accords. They broke a long-standing taboo to become the first Arab states to recognize Israel in a quarter century. Trump also talked about tariffs on China, saying extremely high tariffs on the nation are not sustainable.
If you put that 100% tariff on top of what's in place already, you're talking about 157% tariff on China. Can that stand?
No.
I mean, what is that going to do to the economy?
It's not sustainable, but that's what the number is. It's probably not, it could stand, but they forced me to do that. I think we're going to do fine with China.
Trump unveiled additional tariffs of 100% on Chinese imports a week ago. He was reacting to China dramatically expanding its export controls on rare earth minerals. Trump also confirmed he'll meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping in South Korea in 2 weeks. President Trump refiled his $15 billion defamation lawsuit against the New York Times yesterday. The suit also names Penguin Random House and 3 New York Times reporters. District Judge Stephen Merriday previously tossed the original complaint due to its length. The judge then gave Trump 28 days to amend the lawsuit. In the amended complaint, Trump accused the defendants of defamation over 2 articles and a book published last year ahead of the presidential election. The president alleged they contained statements intended to wrongfully defame and disparage his professional reputation. The lawsuit named New York Times reporters Susan Gregg, Russ Buechner, and Chief White House correspondent Peter Baker among the defendants. A New York Times spokesperson previously told the Epoch Times that the Trump's lawsuit has no merit. The first televised debate for the candidates to be mayor of New York took place last night. NTD's Daniel Monahan has key takeaways from the lively face-off between former Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat Zohran Mamdani, and Republican Curtis Sliwa.
Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo took aim at Zohran Mamdani's experience.
I have the experience of having served in the New York State Assembly for 5 years and watching a broken political system, the experience of seeing a governor in Andrew Cuomo who would rather have served his billionaire donors and the working class New Yorkers who voted for him.
This is not a job for someone who has no management experience to run 300,000 people, no financial experience to run $115 billion budget. He literally has never had a job. On his resume, it says he interned for his mother.
Thank God I'm not a professional politician. We have the architect and we have the apprentice of no cash bail, which has been a disaster. We have the architect and the apprentice here of Raise the Age. My own son was almost killed because of that in a gang attack.
On failing to call for Hamas to lay down their arms, Mamdani said this.
Of course, I believe that they should lay down their arms. I'm proud to be one of the first elected officials in this state who called for a ceasefire. I'm hopeful that it is just. And for it to be just, we also have to ensure that it addresses the conditions that preceded this. Conditions like occupation, like the siege, and apartheid.
The assemblyman will not denounce Hamas. The assemblyman will not denounce Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. The assemblyman just said in his response, well, it depends on occupation. That is code, meaning that Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state.
The candidates also discussed the deployment of federal agents to handle crime.
When Donald Trump sent ICE agents on people in Los Angeles, Andrew Cuomo said that New Yorkers need not overreact. That is the furthest answer that New Yorkers are looking for.
I went through this with him. He sent the National Guard to 20 cities when I was governor. You know what city he didn't send them to? New York. Why? Because I said to him, don't you dare.
On protests, Liwa says civil disobedience has its limits.
We have rampaging groups that go running through the streets, that enter all kinds of facilities and violate other people's rights. And there's no one who's willing to stop it.
On crime, the candidates had this to say.
We will have dedicated teams of mental health outreach workers in the top 100 subway stations with the highest levels of the mental health crisis and homelessness.
The NYPD is now down at one of the lowest levels in modern political history. I would add 5,000 police, put 1,500 in the subways.
The mayoral hopefuls also touched on the cost of living.
We'll freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants, and I will also build 200,000 truly affordable homes.
Freeze the rent only postpones the rent, because then you have to have an increase to cover the costs.
We have 6,000 available apartments that the mayor controls in NYCHA, and they've been empty for years. That you address, number one. Then we talk about senior citizens who are living here. My whole goal is to improve and not to move. I'm concerned about the seniors, especially those that own homes. If they're 65 and make less than $250,000, no property tax, because the property tax is way too high. We need to cut it in half to keep people who are here. And then in terms of rentals, we have affordable housing that can be built in these huge skyscrapers. You see them all throughout Manhattan and in northern Brooklyn and in Long Island City, which we have 25 Empire State Buildings full of commercial space that will never be occupied for office space. We should be converting them into affordable apartments.
And discuss the sex trade and its consequences on the streets.
Prosecuting women for prostitution is something that actually leads to less safety. And what we need to do is provide an economy of opportunity.
You don't go after the women. The women are the victims here. You lock up the Johns, you shame the Johns.
The election is now just 2 weeks away on November 4th. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And in New Jersey, the governor's race is tightening with less than 3 weeks until Election Day. A Fox News poll shows Democrat Mikey Sherrill leading Republican Jack Ciattarelli by just 5 points among likely voters, 50 to 45%, down from an 8-point lead in late September. That puts the race within the margin of error. A separate Quinnipiac University poll released this week also shows a close contest, with Sherrill ahead 50 to 44%. Ciattarelli is outperforming among men, white voters, and those without college degrees, while Sherrill continues to lead with women, younger voters, and minorities. Both campaigns have ramped up attacks after 2 heated debates, as enthusiasm remains high on both sides. Analysts say turnout could be the deciding factor when voters head to the polls on November 4th. Protests at ICE facilities across the country continue. Chicago police arrived and arrested several protesters today. Stay tuned for that story after this break.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
In the mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. Don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
Chicago police arrest several people as dozens of protesters gathered outside an ICE facility today. The facility has been the focus of protests since an immigration enforcement surge began last month. Protesters initially chanted and held anti-ICE signs. ICE erected barriers outside the detention facility to keep the protesters at a safe distance. As police advanced, protesters began scuffling and shouting obscenities. Illinois state police officers made several arrests. Police in the Chicago area have staged repeated protests against the stepped-up federal presence. In some cases, the protests became violent, with people attacking ICE facilities and agents. A Wisconsin man has been charged after allegedly posting TikTok videos that called for ICE agents to be shot and killed. 38-year-old Andrew Stanton was indicted Wednesday on 3 federal charges, including threatening to assault, kidnap, or murder a U.S. official. Prosecutors say the videos were posted between August and October this year from various accounts, but they believe Stanton was behind all of them. Stanton also allegedly made a post that encouraged more killings like Charlie Kirk's and sought information about the whereabouts of Israeli military agents in the U.S. Stanton has pleaded not guilty. His trial is set for December 15th. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is deploying the National Guard of Texas and state troopers to Austin ahead of a planned No Kings protest tomorrow. The governor described the protest as Antifa-linked. Antifa is a far-left extremist group that originated under the Soviet Union and functioned as the violent wing of Germany's Communist Party. The group generally labels its perceived enemies as fascists. According to its leaders, Antifa's mission is to stop people it deems to be fascists by any means necessary, including violence. Abbott's action follows President Trump's designation of Antifa as the domestic terrorist group last month. No Kings protests are also planned tomorrow in Dallas, Houston, and other locations across Texas and the United States. And what do people make of this messaging against President Trump? NTD's Sam Wong was out on the National Mall in D.C. to hear from the people.
Is President Trump a king?
I don't think he's a king. I think he's doing a great job, to be honest. I think everything he's doing, he's fought every step of the way, but he's doing, in my opinion, doing a great job against all odds.
You know, I think I know the history pretty well. Not an expert on the Constitution or anything, but there are so many restrictions on that. You know, whoever may be listening or watching, you know, I just encourage them to look up themselves, you know, and, you know, if not, you know, wait in 3 or 4 years.
And what do you make of the messaging here? No kings.
I think it's important. I think America was birthed out of wanting to get away from, you know, a single ruler. We wanted to live in a democracy, and it feels like every day we're seeing something new come up where it's kind of chipping away at that.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'm going to be there in Nashville. I was just thinking about what sign I want to make. I think the war on education, on teachers right now, is a big problem for me. I'm an educator. His administration has cut almost every special education job in the federal office, which is going to affect a lot of students and a lot of families.
Are you seeing the ramifications of that yourself?
Not right now, but I do think we are at a time where American nationalist movement is dividing our country.
What do you make of this message here, no kings?
I don't really understand it. I don't look at him as a king by any means. He's a leader of our country. He's fighting for us, and he's freeing hostages as we speak. I mean, he's really, I feel like his heart is with the country, and I feel like we've lost that a little bit.
I just would add that as well. I'd say he unites us, and he's a good leader, so.
And we love his gear.
President Trump has been saying that, you know, every step of the way, every time when he does something, there's always like pushback, legal pushback. He's fought every step of the way by these courts, by these judges who are not elected by the people, but appointed by somebody else. So that's an indication that he's not a king. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's right. He has gotten a lot of pushback, but I think that's for a reason. I think he's trying to put more of a value on a certain person's life over another, and I think that that's wrong.
And what do you say to people who think that President Trump is trying to become a king? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would just encourage them again to look at the Constitution and for themselves and recite it to themselves and look at the restrictions at the 21st Amendment, the 20th Amendment. We all had that instinct to be the drum major, but maybe it's this time where we just want to take that humble step back and say we're not.
Drivers are free to cruise as gas prices have decelerated across the U.S. A number of factors has brought the national average for regular gas to $3.07. There was record oil production in July, and experts say decreased demand in gas. They say more people are opting for electric and hybrid cars over gas-powered cars. 33 states saw gas prices drop under $3. Oklahoma drivers saw the lowest price at $2.57. While this is a relief for drivers, the oil industry is paying the price. This year, ExxonMobil has cut 2,000 jobs and Chevron 8,000. Altogether, about 20,000 jobs have been lost. In one of the most significant airlifts in Alaska's history, hundreds of residents from coastal villages arrived in Anchorage yesterday following severe storms. The remnants of Typhoon Halong brought record storm surge to western Alaska on Sunday. The powerful storm wiped away homes and killed at least one person. 2 others are missing. The communities near the Bering Sea saw water levels more than 6 feet above the highest normal tide line. About 120 homes were destroyed in Kipnuk, a village about 700 people. Evacuees detailed moments of the harrowing storm. Take a look.
It was like a big earthquake, especially with water. We were scared that the glass window was gonna break because the water was hidden.
I started getting calls that one of the houses, they need help. Their houses
were floating and they were drifting away. I couldn't do nothing about it. It was hard. Everybody, it was just nightmare.
The residents are being housed at a Red Cross evacuation shelter at the University of Alaska Anchorage. Officials said there are about 1,600 people across 13 shelters that have been established. The evacuation effort is expected to go on for the next few days. A Louisiana resident is charged for his alleged participation in Hamas's October 7th terror attack. The FBI says he became a legal permanent resident last year. Stay tuned for that story after this break.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
There's cultures that have been lost, but this culture hasn't been. The artist is showing us our sense of who we are, where we came from. You look at his hat. His hat is knitted probably by a man, because a man traditionally knitted the hats. That hat tells you the story of who this person is, what his place in the culture is, the animals around him. Everything's all contained in the messages in the hat. And the tool that he's carrying over his shoulder. This is a centuries-old tool that has been able to rework the mountains. Those traditions are invaluable, and if we don't honor those traditions, then we're rootless. The artist is showing us the value of maintaining our culture and respecting our culture.
Federal prosecutors have charged a Louisiana resident for allegedly participating in Hamas's October 7th terror attack against Israel. The FBI says the suspect is a member of another group based in Gaza called the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. According to the criminal complaint, Mahmoud al-Muhtadi lied about his involvement in terrorist activities on his U.S. visa application. He became a legal permanent resident in 2024. According to the FBI, al-Muhtadi's social media and email accounts show he participated in firearms training with the Hamas-aligned group. The Bureau says it reviewed phone calls in which al-Muhtadi allegedly told associates to, quote, get ready and bring the rifles. Al-Muhtadi allegedly added, quote, there is kidnapping and it's a game, which will be a good one. His initial court date wasn't immediately known. Israel's foreign minister said yesterday that the Rafah crossing into Gaza will probably reopen on Sunday. Here's Gideon Sar.
It is clear that according to the agreement, they must release also the dead hostages. They must do that. And we insist they will do that, and not within weeks and months, but immediately. It is very important.
The Rafah crossing connects Gaza and Egypt. It has been an important entry for food, medicine, and other supplies in the past. Israeli officials say the return of hostages remains held by Hamas is moving too slowly. Hamas agreed to return 28 bodies as part of the ceasefire deal, in addition to 20 living hostages who were released earlier this week. The British government has ordered a review into anti-Semitism and in its public health service. It's part of wider moves across other sectors and the nation as a whole. And it comes following a sharp rise in anti-Semitism, as well as a recent terrorist attack at a synagogue. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has the story.
Britain is reviewing how it handles and confronts anti-Semitism within the National Health Service. It's part of a wider government crackdown on anti-Semitism in the UK. On Thursday, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said there are many cases where it has not been dealt with effectively.
In some cases, clear cases are simply not being dealt with, and so we need to get to the root of that, and that is not just a question of training, it's a question of follow-through and enforcement that needs to happen.
The review comes after a terror attack on a synagogue in the northern English city Manchester earlier this month. A Syrian immigrant drove a car into pedestrians and then began stabbing several people on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. 2 men died in the attack. Mark Burbeck, founder of campaign group Our Fight UK, said there is a culture problem that encourages anti-Semitism. He said many people who would not undertake a violent attack may still find themselves thinking it was justified.
People will say, you know, I wouldn't commit a murder like that at a synagogue, but you can see why people would do it because of what's going on in Gaza.
An Oxford University student was arrested on Wednesday on suspicion of inciting racial hatred at a pro-Palestine protest in London on the previous Saturday. 20-year-old Samuel Williams appeared to praise the terrorist group Hamas.
A steadfast and a noble resistance in Palestine and in Gaza to look to be inspired by.
He then led a chant for the crowd.
Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground.
Zios refers to Zionists, people who support the State of Israel. An Oxford University spokesperson said they cannot comment on individual cases, but said they reject anti-Semitism. Media reports say Williams was suspended from the university on Wednesday, 4 days after the chant. The British government has said universities must take stronger action to protect Jewish students and tackle anti-Semitism. Starmer said some universities are moving too slow.
And some universities being too slow. Look at Oxford this week. That was a slow reaction to the clearest of clear cases.
Burbeck says that people in universities have been able to push the idea that Zionism is somehow a warmongering attitude.
And it's allowed students to feel justified in getting out into the universities with their banners saying death to Zios, as we saw that young man in Oxford. It's allowed them to justify this kind of statement.
Last year, Britain reported its second worst year in modern times for anti-Semitism. The Community Security Trust, which provides security to Jewish organisations across the UK, said more than 3,500 incidents were recorded. There has also been a surge in anti-Semitic incidents reported on US college campuses. The Trump administration has threatened to cut federal funds to universities over campus pro-Palestine protests, saying the universities allowed displays of anti-Semitism. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News.
Members of the European Parliament have launched a Make Europe Healthy Again initiative. The movement calls for a major overhaul of public health governance in Europe. NTD international correspondent David Vivez reports from Paris.
A new transnational movement called Make Europe Healthy Again, or MIHA, was launched Thursday at the European Parliament in Brussels. The initiative, supported by members of the EU Parliament, brings together doctors, researchers, and policy advocates from several continents. Its goal includes promoting transparency in health governance and reducing private influence over public health decisions. Co-chair of the CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, Robert Malone, attended the event. He said his view did not represent the U.S. administration or the CDC.
In my opinion, in medical treatment matters, the patient is the lowest effective level of governance. For if we're not allowed to govern our own bodies and what medical treatments we accept, then there can be no personal freedom and there can be no proportionality.
The event drew a large audience and focused on concerns about the close ties between pharmaceutical companies and public institutions. One key motivation behind MIHA's creation was COVID-19 policies that participants said were unethical.
The cornerstone of this ethical structure is the principle of patient-informed consent, which were widely violated during COVID. In a free society, citizens must have the freedom to decide what medical procedures they wish to accept for themselves and their children.
For MIHA Vice President Rob Ross, there's a need to better monitor the European pharmaceutical industry.
We have seen here in Europe what Big Pharma was able to do. They pushed for the vaccines, so-called vaccines. It's not really vaccines, but let's say they pushed for the COVID shots. And alternative ways to cure people or to keep them safe were just denied.
Speakers criticized what they described as a growing dependence of the European Medicines Agency on industry funding and raised concerns over lobbying transparency and the independent evaluation of medical products.
We have, of course, the European Medical Agency, EMA, here in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, but this is not independent. 91% of their funding is coming from the big pharma industry. While people really believe this is a governmental institute funded by the European Union, as a matter of fact, the funding of the European Union is less than 10%. And if this money is coming from the big pharma itself, it is like Maria yesterday said, it's like that you let the dog watch the sausage, you know.
They called for full public financing of regulatory functions. The initiative also includes the creation of a network of independent experts and a legislative task force to support national and EU-level health proposals. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
A Kremlin envoy says Russia and the U.S. should build a tunnel to connect the two superpowers, calling it the Putin-Trump tunnel. How the envoy wants to involve Elon Musk in the idea. That and more after this break.
With almost 4 decades in the spotlight, Cindy Crawford has never lost her stunning glow. With her gorgeous, age-defying skin, US Weekly says whatever she's doing, it's clearly working. How does her skin still look firm, smooth, and youthful at 58? It's meaningful beauty. And now, with new advanced formulas, it's better than ever, delivering our age-defying ingredients even deeper into the skin to fight wrinkles where they begin. Just wait until you see the difference meaningful beauty can make for you.
Instant hydration, instant plumping. My skin looks amazing. What I'm most proud of is over 5 million women have trusted Meaningful Beauty, and they're getting great results, and I get that feedback from them in airports, supermarkets, walking down the street, and I love it.
And today, we are celebrating 20 years of Meaningful Beauty with a brand new offer you don't want to miss. You can get the entire advanced Meaningful Beauty system with all 5 age-defying super treatments. And when you order today, you'll receive our Targeted Treatment Duo, a $128 value free. Introducing the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules to target crow's feet, forehead lines, and lines around your mouth. Plus, you'll also get the new Skin Renewing Facial Tool with heat, massage, and red light to boost the absorption of the wrinkle smoothing capsules and reduce the appearance of puffiness. The Skin Renewing Facial Tool and the Wrinkle Smoothing Capsules together create Meaningful Beauty's amazing targeted treatment duo.
This plus this equals incredible results.
Get all this, a $300 value, for just $49.95. But you must act quickly. Results guaranteed or your money back.
If you haven't tried Meaningful Beauty yet, this new offer is something you don't want to miss.
This special offer is not available in any store, so don't wait. Scan the code, call the number below, or go to meaningfulbeauty.com right now.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back in stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set